Good afternoon and welcome to today's show. And we are going to cover, the best ways to actually get things done and just really getting stuck in and doing things. There's a lot of procrastination and thought process before people actually put things into action. And I think getting things done, whether it's perfect or whether it's not, is a really important thing. I mean, Jim, you've always said to me, done is better than perfect. Sometimes I try and be a bit of a perfectionist and it could really hold you back. So there's a lot of key differences between your approach to things, whether you're going to be successful or not, because you could really hold yourself back going over things and trying to perfect it. And there is kind of like there is an art behind just doing things. Whether that's in business, whether it's in personal life, and it's really having an effective strategy in place and turning your actual ideas into plans and into like tangible actual results. And you really just need to get stuck in and do it, I think, is probably the main point for today. I mean, like I say, Jim, you've always said to me, done is better than perfect. And I think that's what I wanted to kind of kick off talking about. Trying to perfect something rather than just putting it out there and seeing how it goes, and then maybe possibly looking at ways to improve it or make it better. Do you think that's a better approach?
Yeah, well, you notice every business has done that in the past, haven't they? What their product is now and their service is now compared to what it was maybe even a year ago or 2 years ago, 3, 4, 5 years ago is probably like night and day. Any business that hasn't then hasn't evolved in any way at all, it's probably out of business. They're probably no longer here because it is adaptability and the change and to do that. And most people change when they have to, but what you don't realize is most successful businesses change when they're at the top. So when they're at the pinnacle of their success, they actually adapt and change when at the pinnacle to stay at the top for that reason. Because there's a thing called a product life cycle, which is effectively like this. So the product is launched and it goes way up. So it's a way up here on the curve, and it gets to the top where everybody's buying it and everybody's engaging with it or the service. And then what happens as well is it then comes right down and it starts to go down because people are like, well, I don't want that. It's like, oh, it's boring. I've seen it before, and it's like, I've got that already. Think about it. iPhones, the Samsung Galaxy. Why are they bringing them out all the time if the other one was fine?
They keep just making that slight change and rolling.
Televisions is a classic example as well. The evolution of televisions. And how they keep bringing out new ones. And it's almost like as soon as you buy one, a television, it's obsolete within 6 months to a year, and they bring out a new model. And its computers are the same. So, and it's a product life cycle. That's really what it's down to, and the fact that your competitor is probably going to launch a better version than you, because they realise that you've launched that version, and that's why it's a continual research and development for most companies in their field in order to pioneer new products and new services in terms of what they're doing. Look at when you think about before lockdown, nobody was doing videos in a state agency. Nobody was doing video walkthroughs. Well, I think we were.
I was just going to say we were.
We started it. We started doing video walkthroughs probably just before that, the year before, and nobody was doing it. Nobody was really doing it at that time, and I jumped on that straight away. And then we decided to adapt it as well and make it even better, and work on it when lockdown came in the 2020. When lockdown came in, we adapted and changed to an online, and we took people around the property from start to finish. So it went from standing outside and going, this is a wonderful property, have a look through, and then you'd walk through with a camera or you'd show them pictures and talk about it, no, let me take you around and do a full immersive walkthrough. And that's how that came out of lockdown. So lockdown happened in the early 2020s, but when you think about that actually was a revelation for us in the way we pivoted and changed.
It's actually quite a good example.
That comes back to what we did. That's what comes back to what we did the other week. When we did that one the other week of learning by acquired knowledge. So it was, and didn't realise. It was just that came up with one of the friends that we knew, our mentor in the property field, and in terms of video and stuff like that, and social media presence. And I started to learn from all these different people, mentors.
We went way down south, and that was in 2019. We went down and started.
You don't know what you don't know, and the key is to find the people that do.
It's a good example of, you know, making that decision to look at something different and innovative and implement a change or look at change. And then, do you know, we're 2025, we're nearly 6 years, or we're 6 years later. And even though everybody else is now cottoned on and started to do video and things, we're already years in front. So they've got a long way to catch up.
They're still not even up to speed with what we're doing.
Yeah.
Some of them are just some of the ones that have got great market share. They're not. It doesn't mean to say they're as profitable, but some of the ones that have got good market share are actually now almost being forced out of their comfort zone to stand in front of a property and go,
yeah.
And this is number 3, Terradale Close or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Beautiful 3-bedroom. I'll let you have a look inside, and then they walk up to the door, and then that's the last you see of them.
Mm-hmm.
But they're only forced to do that because they realise that customer demand now, because they've seen it so much, customers demand it.
Yeah.
So they're pushed by their circumstances rather than pulled by their dreams. Whereas I was pulled by my dreams. I was like, oh my God, I've got to do this because somebody else is going to. If somebody else beats me to it, I'll regret it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what drove me.
Yeah, so that's a really good example of just getting stuck in and getting something done rather than procrastinating about it.
And this as well. That is a classic example as well. Now, It's a classic example is nobody would ever do podcasts like this 6 or 7 years ago. It was very rare to have it. But then we thought, yeah, okay, let's start and let's see how we get on. And this is I think this is episode 200 or thereabouts.
We're 194.
Yeah, that's about 4 years.
Yeah, it's been a while.
4 years worth. 4 years we've been doing this. And then when you look at the weekly shows that we do, I think that's going into 5 years. Maybe 6 years even. So they're about 6 years worth of weekly shows. And then you've got the midweek shows now we do. And then you've got the property update. And then you've got vlogs now and again about advice on support and what to do, stories and reels. So there's no surprise we get 1.6 million interactions on our social media channels every month.
Mm-hmm. And that's all a result of just doing it.
That's mental, 1.6 million.
And do you know, when you think that, and it is like when you think back to when we first started doing video, when we first started doing shows and things, it was all new to us. And do you know, we've changed how we do it so much. We went back in the beginning, but we learned that as we done it. We just, rather than trying to perfect it at the beginning, let's just do it and see how it goes. And it did evolve and change and to what we do now. But that was a learning curve, and we just and it's basically just do it and see how it goes and change it as you need to.
Yeah.
Getting things done really does have a split. Like there's a thinking part and there's an actual doing part, and there's a crucial distinction between that. I know that you actually, I mean, we could say that just get things done, don't overthink it, but there is an important place and part for thinking. I mean, Jim, you actually block out thinking time in your diary where you need to actually reflect and think about things and possibly leave them and come back to them, and that is still an important process. Although you do need to sometimes just get things done, you do need to think about what you're actually doing.
I think more people do thinking rather than doing.
It's not letting it overtake. Yeah,
it's classic, and I'll give you a great example of that. Have you ever been at a committee, or you've been at a voluntary event where they've got a committee for a community stuff, for a community event or something like that? They do every year. Maybe they're doing something, a Sea Queen, or the whatever it is. And you always get people in the crowd going, maybe you should do this, maybe you should do that. And you kind of think about that, what they're suggesting, and you kind of think, oh my God, that is quite a lot of work to do that and resources. And then you think to yourself, who's going to do that? And it's never them. They're quick to tell everybody else what they should be doing in a voluntary organisation where everybody volunteers their time. I'm stressing the point of voluntary. The people that come up with these ideas are some people that actually don't even do anything at all. They
And
just want to,
that's
oh, but I'm
involved,
an
yeah.
ideas person. It's like, well, and my first response to most of that now is over the years, is when somebody pipes up and says that, it says, well, are you getting involved in doing it? Because that sounds like a great idea from you. And it was like, oh, I've not got time for that. I went, and I feel like I quietly say in my head, well, shut up, I'm sitting in the corner there.
Well, that's and there's a big difference from doing business and running a business. There's differences between that.
Of course there is. Doing business is face to face, I would say. It's there. You're in the moment doing business. Running a business is a totally different aspect. Running a business is working on it. So it's working in it and working on it. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Doing is working in it. Cold face, right at the front. You're right there. You're getting the full pelt at everything that's happening and in the moment. Running it is like, yeah, you're engineering. It's the Braveheart. You see the generals or the whatever they're called. They're standing on the hill, the captains and everything like that. They're standing or they're on their horses on the hill. Well, they'll tell all their for want of a better word, minions to go and run in and massacre each other. Well, they'll just sit there and coast it. But that's the difference between the doing and the running. I would say, but often people like me, I'm a doer and a runner.
Yeah.
So I'll do both. I quite like multitask, and I like the multitask because I'm all about, and this is just my ethos. It's like you shouldn't be asking somebody to do something you wouldn't do yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it wouldn't or can't do yourself. Yeah, the thing that, well, a lot of leaders and people that run businesses and things, they've come for that position where, like you say, they've been in the cold face and they've done the hard work, they've done that. Do you think a lot of people will find it's quite hard to pull away from that? Not completely.
Yeah, it does. It is definitely.
To find the balance is quite difficult.
You're absolutely right. It's difficult to pull away, especially if you've been conditioned to that, because it's like a racehorse or a race car or anything like that. They've done it all their life, or a majority of their life. They're used to doing that all the time. So imagine just telling people to stop. That's why retirement. A lot of people actually only last a short period of time after retirement because they've lost their purpose now. So it's got nothing, and everybody thinks it's all about, oh, you've worked all these years to then pop your clogs like 2 years after retirement. It's like, but the reason that they've popped their clogs 2 years after retirement is because you've stopped them working all these years.
Mm-hmm.
They need something else to replace that in order to keep going. Or just like, why am I doing this anymore? Well, what's the point? That's the mentality behind that. That's what people don't realize about the mental process. And it's you've got here the key differences is the balance.
Mm-hmm.
And this is actually a great bit here. Truly successful leaders master the art of switching between thinking and doing, understanding they are complementary and they're not competing skills.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've only just seen that now, but that's effectively what I do.
Yeah, I know you are good at that, and I know that.
I've just been out at Fife
finding
Fest.
that balance is
I was out
something
at Fife Fest the other week,
yeah.
and it's like that boy came over to me and he said to me, "Oh, you jump at Fife Properties," and then I told him, "Say, well, I'm actually the boy in charge and running the whole thing, and I'm up there knocking the posts on the ground to put the banners up." That's the doing.
Yeah.
There's the running, there's the doing. So the running is the organising, the social media and making sure it's all promoted. But the doing is actually getting out there and putting the flags up and putting the banners up so everybody can see what you've got. What setting out your stall. That's the difference between people that excel and people that don't.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably why it's probably in anything. Look at politicians. You've got the doers, you've got the people that you work on and the people work in, and they're typically the successful politicians. Think about that. They're prepared to do other things that other people won't. And it's almost like some people, it's like, I'm not going to stoop myself so low to have to do that. And I used to talk to you about this all the time. It's like, it's part of being a boss sometimes is like, you might have to clean the toilets now and again.
Yeah.
Now, the very fact that somebody's tuned in on here and they'll be listening to this, if you've got like, if you flinched with that and the fact that you might have to clean the toilets now and again because you're the boss, it's like you need to get a checkup from the neck up.
Yeah.
Because this isn't about status, and
Mhm.
status will not pay the bills.
Yeah, you need to be able to still get stuck in when it's needed, because at the end of the day, depending on, you don't know what's ahead for your business, and if you need to get back in and get stuck in, then that's what you need to do.
Absolutely, because
in order to stay successful in whatever you're doing, you need to have that attitude. Because if you think, oh, that's beneath me, I'm better than that now, then there'll come a time your business will need you, and you're not going to be there to do it.
listen, I used to be like that. I mean, I've got to admit, to a certain degree. I mean, I was brought up by a father who actually cleaned the telephone boxes while we were taken to school.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad used to stop at the school and then he'd go and clean, and I had to get out his van, the window cleaner van, and all the rest of it, and out the back seat. So I was, I grew up in that environment. It was embarrassing in the beginning, but after a period of time, it was like, so what? I remember my dad turning around at me one day and says, "Wait a minute, all these people are working where I run my own business, and all these people probably have loans, and they have their house on tick and all the rest of it, and I've paid for everything."
Mm-hmm.
So who's the person that you should be looking up to now? No, the fact that he was wanting me to look up to him. He says that's what you got to think about. He says you got your priorities wrong.
Work ethic, I think.
You need to get your priorities right here. You need to get your thinking right. Yeah. And my mentors reinforced that as well. When I became an accountant, that's when I met my mentors. And I am an accountant. I remember somebody who I valued their opinion really well. And when I said I was moving into one of the worst streets and taking a step back, and I was moving into one of the worst streets they could have in the area, they went, do you want to think about that? Because you're a man of standing and stature in the community now.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they said to me. And I said, well, I don't really need to think about that. I know I didn't want to keep paying for a house that's far too big for me every single time, and yet I could get this in this street, and it's a fraction of the cost. And I could invest more into what I'm doing, and I could retire even earlier than what I expected to do. So that's all I'm interested in. But he was caught up on the status of who I was and what position I had.
But then,
so out of respect, I said, I'll take you. Oh, thanks very much for your advice. I'll take the weekend to think about it. But my answer on Monday was still, no, I'm moving. Yeah. I'm not staying where I am. I'm not caring if it's all about stature and status. It doesn't pay the bills.
But then that's a societal thing that the car that you drive and the house that you live in and the clothes that you wear, and they reflect the person that you are and how successful you are. And it's not.
Yeah, definitely.
Sometimes it's nice to have some nice things, but a lot of people, like you say, are in a lot of finance and debt and things just to prove to other people what really.
Yeah, I mean, some will be watching or listening to this, and they'll be completely oblivious that that's what they're doing. They're trying to prove to other people how successful they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's like,
and sometimes it can be a lot of smoke and mirrors because they really aren't very successful and don't have a lot of money backing them, or successful businesses or investments behind them, but people think they do because it looks like they do.
Yeah. And then they go, I want you to teach me, and then they go, oh, well, it's going to cost you.
Yeah.
It's good. Oh, there's the clincher. That's what it was all about. It was all about reeling them in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. With reeling them in with that kind of illusion of grandeur and things. But definitely. thinking about getting things done in that, I looked at, I researched some like the key steps of the art of doing, and the first thing that come up and it immediately put me in mind of you, Jim, and it's validating an idea and how you approach your investment portfolio and things. And before you do invest or do any significant change or implement something, and spend your time and money on it, you test an idea, you risk test it, you look at its viability, and whether it's something that's going to be relevant to your customer base. Are people looking for this? Whether it's, if we talk about property, is somebody looking for a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom flat in this area? What kind of return am I going to get? and you do all that, you really need to validate an idea. That's all very well saying just get it done, but make sure you're doing the right thing.
Definitely. That's what this is all about. That's what this is all about. The very fact that I've got this spreadsheet, and the fact that, you know, every single time when I come up for an appraisal, I go, right, okay, I'm buying it for £75,000. Or 750. That's a portfolio. 75012. Okay, £75,000 is you've got 8% EDS now in Scotland. You've got a 25% deposit. You've got probably I think it's a 5% interest rate. You've got a 3% arrangement fee, and the rent on a 75,000, which is probably a 2-bedroom where we are, is around about 550.
Yeah, about 550. Well, yeah.
So 550, you could get 600 on a good day. More than likely, it probably is 600 now, to be honest. But if you pay 550 the now, you kind of think to yourself, okay, 12-month occupancy, gross profit, you've got a gross yield of 8%, which is here. That's just pure cash buy. And then here, you've got, we're leveraging it with a mortgage. We're going to talk about leveraging, aren't we? You've got mortgage. Actually, we talked about it the other week, didn't we? A couple of weeks ago.
We've done that.
We talked about leveraging. So that'd be a good one for anybody to go back to see that. So the gross yield with the mortgage goes up to 13.8%. So that it's leveraged you by using the bank's money by 6%. So using the bank's money has made you 6% more in terms of your return before overheads are taken off. So your net profit is just under about £2,000 a year, 6.4% net return on the money you've got invested, which is the 26,750 in there, which is your stamp duty, your deposit, and your legal fees involved in that. And the payback 16 years. Now, remember, you've only got 26,750 in there. That's not much. And then when you compound that over 10 years, because property prices have gone up by 4%, by the way, you know, in 5, probably right across Scotland, to be honest, and right across the UK every year for the last 20 years. So there's an assumption there that you could make 4% every single year straight on the bottom, you know, straight on appreciation over a long period. Remember, it's a long game property. Get rich slow, and get wealthy slow as well. So your profit combined with your capital appreciation based on what you invested in the first place, if you don't do anything other than look after it, well, you get a letting agent to look after it because there's 30% overheads in there to cover repairs and improvements or anything incidental and your management fees. Then your return on investment over 10 years is just under 200%. Now, that's how you do it, yeah. So how low can I go? I change that to 8 months. There's my 8 months. So I can have it empty for 4 months and still break even. And then how low can I go on here? Interest rate has to go up to 8%. Let's see. Right, 8% break even. So if interest rate went up, but if a fixed rate on a 5-year fixed rate deal at 5%, then I'm all right with that. That's hedged. What if the rent goes down by 4 to 450?
You're playing it safe with 550.
We're still fine at 450. We're at 400. We're at 350. 350 is break even. So we're going from 550 to 350. So there's no way that's ever going to happen. And if it did, you'd still break even on that and still keep it looking after itself. So then if your rent away up to 600, then look, your payback's going to 8% net return on your deposit and your 12-year payback now. And your return on investment's over 200% now over 10 years. Over 20 years, your return on investment's gone up to 409%. So that's the sort of thing you've got to take into account about how this works and how you should de-risk it. So that's how I initially validate an idea, and that's how you're taught to do it as well. So it's validating an idea. Does it make sense? Will it make sense? And where is the minimum viable amount that you need in order to do
that risk analysis is such an important part.
Yeah, I mean, what if 3 years later the prices went up that much? You could take that 26,000 out and have no money in. Where would that work? Because it's an infinite return, and then you take the 26,000 and do it again.
And do it again.
Yeah, duplicate. That's all it is. So that's the whole point. The other one is, so validating the idea is key here, and then leading by example.
Yeah, leading by example. I mean, if you're a leader, or do you know, this kind of focused action and things can be quite contagious. But demonstrating routines and directing attention to what matters, it can really encourage. If you're running a team, like I run a team, Jim, you run a team and things as well. It's to encourage them to be involved and share their insights on how things are running within our business. I think that's really important, and a lot of people who are in a position of leadership or probably in charge don't take into consideration the insights of their team and kind of just, they're quite blinkers on and narrow-minded about it, which is not a good way to run a business.
Yeah, so I've moved from leading from the front, being at the coalface, to helping people lead from the front. So I'm working on rather than in, and that's key and strategic for me, because it's like I can't be doing this all the time, because at some point in time I'm going to burn out.
Yeah.
And
you're going to be doing other things, and
and then we look at other people to come in who've got a skill as well, and we build them up as well over time. So that's what that's all about. And so I definitely think that's definitely right. Validate the idea, lead by example, and embrace the, I talk about it quite a lot, ready, fire, aim.
Yeah.
Just do it. I'm not ready. It's like, just get on with it. It's like, are you going to be doing it for the rest of your life? Yeah. So what does it matter if you didn't get it right in the first place? Just adapt it. Imagine if you think you've got it right and then somebody goes, oh, I don't want it like that. Then you'll not want to change it, will you? What it reminds me of is the old British Leyland days. Now, you weren't there at that time, 1970s stuff. But British Leyland, before the Thatcher government, used to build cars and then find out if people wanted to buy them.
Whereas really you should be rolling out, like, we've got this car, do a prototype possibly and see how many people sign up for it.
Absolutely. British Leyland didn't work like that. And that was a huge fault. They had mountains on mountains of cars just sitting, nobody buying them, because it was like people were going, oh, I don't like that car. It's like, oh, but we've made 3,000 of them. It's like, but nobody wants it.
I change them now, yeah.
Yeah, crazy. So that's the sort of thing. So that's the ready, aim, and fire. That's that way. Whereas the right way should be, and quite rightly, and I'll mention her name, and it's quite a it's a name that some people just don't like. It's Thatcher. Margaret Thatcher came along and says, no. This should be customer-led, not production-led industry. So what we need to do is change you from we'll make something and we'll see if somebody wants to buy it to let's find out what people want to buy and then we'll go and make it.
Yeah.
And that was the revelation for our industry.
That's a revelation idea.
Honestly, Richard, we'd still be in the dark ages if it wasn't for that mentality. And that ultimately, I think, came from America. And then everybody else started to see that and jump on the bandwagon, like China and Japan. Japan was really good. Japan was excellent. Japan used to just plagiarize everybody else's ideas and make them better. That was the Japanese. That's what they did. And then the Chinese came along eventually and went, we could do that as well. And then the Chinese basically ate the Japanese market. They ate their lunch and their tea and their breakfast. And they took the crown, China, for doing everything in mass scale. And
just because it's such a big economy.
Yeah, cheap.
But to do it,
I've got to admit, I mean, Japan used to have a huge, see if you said made in Japan or anything, it was like top quality. See if you see anything that had made in China, it was like, yeah, that's going to fall apart after 3 days.
Shut together,
as soon as I take out the packet, oh, it's falling apart. But not now. They've embraced that. They've embraced quality. They've embraced everything else, and they've never waited for the perfect moment. They've just gone and done it. The Koreans are like that as well. Samsung, look at Samsung. Look at Apple. Imagine, look at the amount of times that Apple's actually launched something and they've got it wrong. Because it has happened, haven't it?
Yeah.
They've launched something, they've got it wrong, and they've just rolled back. Are they still here? Yes. Are they still one of the biggest companies in the world? Yes.
Yeah, very much.
Did it affect them? No. It probably made things better. Look at Coca-Cola. Look at when they decided to change the recipe of Coca-Cola, the traditional recipe, all these years, and they said, we're going to put a new formula out. Up in arms. That was production-led. We're going to change the formula. And then everybody was up in arms. The boy who got sacked, it's the managing director that was in charge of that project. It was his idea. You're going, basically on the chopping block, you're away. You're out of here. Do you know he still works for Coca-Cola?
Really?
Yep. Because it was the best revelation ever, because there was an outcry in America, families, generations of Coca-Cola drinkers, and Coca-Cola went from down here to back on top again. And
it brought back to the forefront the importance of their
all because
brand.
of that. All because of that guy decided to say, we'll change the formula. So they basically promoted them.
Oh, well.
We'll just put you somewhere else and we'll promote you. Thanks very much. Because everybody loves Coke, and we'll put it back to what it was.
Yeah.
We don't need to reinvent it anymore. We now know that the customer loves Coke and they never want it to change.
I suppose that's quite a good thing on the flip side.
Of course, that was so. See how these things can work, and you just got to be touchy-feely about the whole thing. You've got to understand. A good one the other day is somebody came to us and says, "I am not wanting this. I don't want a walkthrough for video. I don't want anything else." And like there was a big bit round the table, and it's like, okay, that's fine then, as long as they're paying the same price.
Yeah.
No bothered. What? Yeah. As long as they're paying the same price, just give them what they want.
Mm-hmm.
Just explain to them. It obviously make it a wee bit more difficult to get that traction and
you might not have the same reach and things. Yeah.
Video, that's a fact. But we'll still do as best as, and we'll do better than everybody else. That's fine with me. And they were taken aback. Like what? you usually like, no, it's this way or the highway. No,
Yeah.
fine with that.
Yeah,
So
I mean, processes are there for a reason, but in certain circumstances, it doesn't have to always be done exactly that way. But you need to confer, obviously, with the team and things and people to do that. But the ready, fire, aim thing is definitely about where, people try and perfect things too much rather than just getting it done.
Feedback, change, adapt, feedback, maybe not change because you've maybe got the right product now.
Yeah.
Feedback. Oh, we're now beginning to see people want different. So let's pivot, let's change, let's improve. Let's do something, let's just give an upgrade. These are all different things. Look at the amount of people that we do business with, our suppliers. Think about the suppliers that are no longer with us, who never really improved what they did. But think about the suppliers that are still with us from the very beginning, who continue to improve on what they did.
Yep.
And actually give more value for money. Still here.
Yeah.
Still successful.
We've got relationships with suppliers things for well over 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the whole thing. And that feedback loop is essential. It's basically a management information system in terms of how it is part of that process. So you have to also make sure when you're implementing something like that is you have to have define the clear accountability in terms of what's going on here. Yeah. Assign specific responsibilities to specific people and monitor it. Does that sound familiar, Richard?
It does.
We've just had that conversation a couple of weeks ago.
It is kind of why I picked this topic, to be honest, because there's a lot in here that we talk about running a business, and it is a lot of fundamental parts of it.
You've got to give them ownership and a sense that they're in charge, and actually give them a bit of autonomy to do that. But define clear guidelines in terms of, and boundaries in terms of where that starts and where that finishes. Mm-hmm. That's the sort of thing as well. That's the key. And a management information system, something which I got taught at college, was you got to make sure you measure it as well. Again, does that sound familiar? The key performance indicators, the KPIs, to monitor outcomes and be track effectiveness, and making sure it is what you expect it to be, and if it's not, then why is it not? And then how can you go back and actually make it better in order for it to be better at the end?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, KPIs
like education.
Yeah,
I never passed my exam. All right, okay. So what bits did you do well on? Oh well, that. Okay, let's improve on that then, and let's sit it again. Oh, passed with flying colours. There you go. There's no surprise there. You took the information back to you. You realised the things that you weren't even that good on. You improved on that, and then that's why you passed.
Yeah.
Hallelujah! This guy's a miracle worker. No, he's not. It's just it's a management information system.
Yeah.
And effective communication and effective execution, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, communication is a key thing as well within a team and things. But it's like what you're saying, like if you're implementing new things and putting things into practice and like you say, just getting things done, but measuring how they are actually performing and who's accountable for each part of that, making it work, is just is all the fundamental parts of anything being successful.
Yeah. Okay. So then finally for that one, then when you're talking about these key steps in that of doing, is managing the risk.
Yep.
Always play the downside. You can see that when I did that in there, when I'm sitting down here, what was the first thing I was doing in that spreadsheet? I was sitting going on about managing the downside, and I was saying to myself, what happens if this drops to 350 quid? Oh, I break even, and I'm still okay. I'm still paying the mortgage. It's still covering it because the mortgage is covered. That's the sort of thing. That is making sure you manage risk. That is what it's all about, managing that risk out through the whole process. I think that's key and fundamental. Now, that wasn't something I probably learned that by experience rather than wisdom. So it was like, you know, I was taking huge risks in the early days, and I started to realize it's like how I was leaving myself so exposed in terms of property investment. So hence the reason why I adapted and actually formulated that information system in order to make sure that I was managing the risk. This is why I say I'm guaranteed to be successful at it. It's like I can't lose.
Yeah,
I can't lose, and if I lose, then everybody else is losing as well, because there's no way they're more de-risked than me.
Yeah, so if things go so far south, then everybody's going to go together.
Yeah, and that's the key here. So it's understand the potential risks for what you're doing, your business or whatever it is you're doing, whether it's competitive or otherwise. And effective execution requires managing these risks and leveraging control systems to track them.
Yeah.
Track them. That's the key. Make sure you're doing what you say you're doing. Make sure it is on track how it should be. Make sure it's even way ahead of track, if that's the case. And in an ideal world, I actually play the downside very, very conservatively, prudently is the word.
Yeah.
Because I'm a trained accountant, so I'm quite prudent in my outlook. So when I'll type in these numbers, these are worst case scenarios. So the easy one for me, and the one that I say all the time, is if worst comes to worst, you can always turn around and self-manage if you really need to. Because it's like, oh my God, I've got so much cost going out. Everything's changed all at once because the occupancy rates dropped because supply is more on the market. The rents dropped because there's more supply in the market, so the rents dropped as well. Interest rates have had to go up as well. It's like, okay, so what is the one thing I could influence? The management.
And you could take back that 50%.
Yeah, and you can take back the management and self-manage, and that then is that's your rainy day money. Yeah. That's the if everything else fails, this is where you can get it. Yeah, so you've got a lot of what we call financial fat in there that you could actually trim if you really need to.
And fall back on, yeah.
As long as you're not cutting into the bone, that's the key here, and making sure you've still got a tenant, make sure you look after them, make sure you've got the repairs done and everything like that. So that's why that spreadsheet is designed like that for that reason. What you got to finally say when we're wrapping up here on fostering a culture of implementation.
Yeah, I think it's all about the kind of getting things done. It's all about the execution and really that building that company culture and values that values action and results. Do you know, that just having that mindset. Yeah. Do you know, cultivating a growth mindset. We've covered that. Do you know, empowering. If you're running a business and you've got employees, empowering your employees and having that really open communication with them and letting them be involved in how things are actually run within the company, and not having a leader or a leadership that's quite narrow-minded and blinkers on, and not having the team involved. That's a really important thing as well. And to reward that initiative, to know, rewarding your team for, that proactive initiative that's helping move the business forward, and continue to celebrate. If you're having small wins throughout your business success, then celebrate that as well as you move forward.
Absolutely. Finally, it'll build momentum and it keeps the team motivated and the journey towards larger goals, which is ultimately what people are trying to achieve. However, I would say a wee caveat there is the fact that you don't need to always grow. If you're happy where you are and you just adapt and change and keep where you are all the time, then that's okay. That's okay.
That is true, and you don't need to adapt and grow, but you could always find something to do things a wee bit more efficiently or do things a bit better within what you're doing without having to grow exponentially. There's always room for improvement.
Yep.
But yeah, getting things done, not procrastinating, and try and not perfect things on the first run, which is something I've been guilty over the years, and learned that done is better than perfect, as you say, Jim.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Right. That was great. Let's leave that there today. Hopefully that was a good insight for people listening, and thanks, Jim, for contributing on getting things done. And we'll leave it there today, and we'll see you next week as usual at 12:30.
Okay.
Until then, see you later.